Hello everyone, it's Jade from Boho Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. This is my October wrap-up part 1. Thankfully I read a lot more throughout October than I did in September. Whew. The first book that I finished was for my local book club, and that was Girl A by Abigail. When I realised that this book was based off of the true crime Turpin case, better known as the House of Horrors, I was horrified. These siblings were caged, chained, starved, tortured. They were only allowed to shower like once a year. Food was kept literally just beyond reach for them, and they were just taunted by their parents. It was just absolutely horrific. So Girl A is following one of the siblings who is 17 years old, and in real life she actually escaped from that house and went to go get help, and she rescued all of her siblings. She was deemed like the hero, but she didn't want to really have that stigma about her. She doesn't want to be identified as that person. She just kind of wants to move on with life. It was good, I think, that there were a number of differences between the true case and the actual book. So for instance, her father in the book never makes it out of the House of Horrors, but in real life he's still in jail, hopefully rotting. And in the book, the mother actually leaves this House of Horrors to all the siblings, and that kind of makes them all have to come back together for the first time in their lives. I guess what struck me about the book was the reality of it. It was loosely based on what really happened, but even slightly similar, that it's just so bone-chilling. It was not an easy read at all. At first, I was really captivated by this book. I thought the writing was really good. I mean, as a lover of true crime, this ticked almost all of my boxes. Unfortunately, as the book went along, it just became really slow-paced and, to be honest, a little bit bland. It was just like chapter upon chapter of dialogue, conversations between the siblings with really not much happening at all. My attention ended up waning with this book, and yeah, I went days without picking it back up. With my book club, I asked Ellie, one of the girls that I've met there, you know, how's she going with it? And she was like, look, she felt exactly the same way. She finished it before me, but it took her a while to pick it back up as well. She just wasn't interested in the end. It's one of those rare books that ended up putting me in a bit of a reading slump. It was incredibly heavy and unfathomable, but it just didn't live up to that expectation, you know, considering it's built on the bones of this like absolutely terrifying case. So much more could have been done with it, but I think it just fell flat. It was just a really difficult book for me to finish. It was laced with trigger warnings, and it was just really sad. I think maybe if you do like true crime, you should give this book a go. You might enjoy it more than I did. I'll admit, lately I haven't been listening to as many true crime podcasts as I normally would. I've kind of been investing my time into more bookish podcasts, paranormal, scary podcasts, and just, you know, like fertility and conceiving podcasts too, because that's my journey right now. And I just yeah, this one just didn't do it for me at all. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 star review because in the beginning I did think that the writing was really good, but then it just kind of lost its way. The next book I read was Daisy Darker by FEENEY, so I was really looking forward to a really spooky, eerie book for the month of Halloween, and I thought this would be the perfect one to kick me off in the right direction. Right off the bat, this book gave me serious Lucy Foley vibes. This family all assembled to this gothic-y, crumbling down house cut off from the rest of the world. Stupid beeper. Anyway, when the tide comes in, this family are cut off from the rest of the world. They've all come together for their nana's 80th birthday, and as the tide rolls in, she starts discussing her will with them, which obviously in any family is going to cause a bit of controversy if you don't really see eye to eye. And they aren't a very oh, how can I say it? They're a very dysfunctional family. Daisy Darker is our protagonist, and she is literally with a broken heart. She suffered from a heart condition when she was growing up, and so she never really had the kind of childhood that you would normally get. You know, she wasn't allowed to go to school. She didn't really make friends. She had to kind of stay in and be very careful. She hid behind the comfort of books, and her nana actually created this really successful novel called Daisy Darker, named after her, where she could kind of explore and adventure into a fictional world as herself, which is actually a really beautiful concept and a really good idea. Anyway, so as the tensions rise within this family, at the stroke of midnight, one of them ends up dead. Each hour that follows, someone else falls victim, accompanied with a poem. I did actually quite like the lyrical prose that this book had. It just added to that creepy element, but the poetry itself was a little bit cringe. And I did want something a bit scarier, honestly. I mean, it's the month of Halloween. I wanted something that really creeped me out, and this book just didn't deliver that. I do think that Daisy Darker is just a bit more of a domestic mystery than anything else, and apparently it's a nod to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Admittedly, I've not read that, but I think the thing that really shaved points off for me was that I figured out exactly who had done all the murders instantly. Plus the twist was so implausible. I just hate it when books do that. I am in the minority with this one. So many people I know loved it, so maybe it's just me. I was expecting something different, and this one just didn't really meet my expectations. To be honest, no Alice Feeney book has really been a solid 5 out of 5 for me anyway. And I've read a couple. I'll be honest and say Daisy Darker was probably the worst out of the ones I've read. I've read His and Hers, I've read Rock, Paper, Scissors, I've read Sometimes I Lie. They were all 4 out of 5s, but none yet have been a 5 out of 5 for me. I actually have read I Know Who You Are as well, but I don't remember that for the life of me. So unfortunately, this one also got a 2 out of 5 stars from me. Then I went on to read Bridgerton Book 1, The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I had watched the Netflix TV show some time ago, and to be honest, I was looking forward to the next season. I never got around to it, and I never thought that I would invest my time into the series of books because it's not really in my kind of genre that I enjoy. But then I moved to this new village and I stumbled across the film set of Bridgerton season 3, and I was just totally inspired and bought the box set of the first 4 books in the series. In The Duke and I, we follow Daphne Bridgerton, who is 1 in 8 siblings, and she is in society. She's ready to find her husband and have some babies, but men just kind of view her as more of a friend. She doesn't really get those romantic sparks from anyone. And then waltzes in the Duke of Hastings, Simon, and they kind of bump into each other's lives and decide to form this ruse, this fake courtship, so that they, for one, it benefits them both. Simon can stop this gaggle of women chasing after him, and Daphne suddenly becomes this really attractive female that is good enough for the Duke of Hastings, so why not anyone else? All seems like a great plan until their feelings are kind of undeniable. I actually really liked this book. You know, having never dipped my toes into historical fiction before, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was also really surprised at how erotic and steamy it was. I mean, there is a lot more to this book than meets the eye. This is supposed to be this Regency historical fiction book where women don't know a thing about what happens between a man and a woman after marriage, but woof, crikey. I did find it thoroughly captivating and page turning. I smiled, I laughed, I cried. Oh, I kind of wanted to, I didn't actually cry, but you know, I felt frustration and anger. Everything. This book just had everything. I really enjoyed the anonymous writings of Lady Whistledown. It was just really full of wit and sarcasm, and yeah, it was fun. What I like about Quinn is that she has this way of writing really strong, opinionated women in an era where they are supposed to be naive and not really know what's going on. She is like a modern day Jane Austen. I enjoyed Daphne's sense of humour and her outlook on life. You know, she was in the norm of desiring a husband and children, but she was written in a way that she just had more about her that you were interested in and wanted to invest your time in. But admittedly, as the book edged towards the end, I did find that Daphne did a 180, and she went from this really funny, kind of hilarious woman to someone that was quite arrogant, bossy, moody, bitchy, and just, I mean, the woman basically rapes her husband so that she can capture his seed. And she's barking at everyone oh, well, you're not in my marriage, you're not married, once you're married you'll know, da-da-da. She just changed, and I didn't like it. And also the way that she writes men, the way that their dominance they feel that they're entitled to, it's just Neanderthal. I mean, yes, there were times where I felt the writing was particularly cringy, especially during the dialogue or the descriptions of love and lust. But overall, I really did anticipate picking this book back up when I was taking a break. It's the kind of book that I think that you just kind of have to know what you're getting into. When you pick it up, you know what you're gonna get. It's a smutty, simple, pleasurable read, and don't expect more. What I will say is that the TV show and the book are very, very different, and I'll leave a lot of the things out because I don't want to give spoilers, but like, for one, they turned Berbrook into this absolute, like, almost rapist who he is not portrayed to be in the book. He was just a bit pathetic in the book. He wasn't like an evil person. There was like suddenly the thing with the prince, or the young woman who was with child who went to go stay with the Featheringtons. Like, where'd that come from? I mean, even Daphne's character, yes, she turned into a bit of a bitch, but like, in the TV show, she is just, I think she's really awful, but that like lightness and the humour and the wit and like the bits that I enjoyed about her didn't really portray in the TV show, so that was a bit odd. Anyway, let me know if you've read any of them, if you agree with my opinions, or if you highly disagree, because I'm sure there are many of you out there that definitely enjoyed Daisy Darker because it was recommended to me by some of you. Sorry I didn't enjoy it, but I do always appreciate the suggestions and I hope that they keep coming. Funnily enough, one of you had actually mentioned that Survive the Night by Riley Sager was awful and to just steer clear of it, but I decided to do a reading vlog, which I'm busy filming now, and it's all about like, oh, I'm reading Survive the Night, how bad could it possibly be? And I'm surprised I'm not actually hating it. It's actually really tension-packed, and I don't know, maybe it's going to change, maybe it's got one of those ridiculous endings or twists that don't make any sense or are completely implausible, which just infuriates me, but so far, I'm actually enjoying it, so we'll see how we go with that, but I will leave that for the end of the month wrap up. I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye.